I'm very pleased to be able to say that I'm talking to Sarah Clift, a winner from this year's YDA competition. Sarah, I think I'm right in saying that you won gold and 2 silvers this year. So gold for your short film, The Birth of Valerie Venus, in the best use of humour category, and a silver in the short film category, and then another silver in the Dreampitch category for Santa Feminismo. Have I pronounced that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Okay,
yeah.
Which hopefully we'll get time to talk about that briefly in a little bit. But before we do talk about the films, can you just give us a kind of brief summary of how you got into directing and why you got into directing and what your kind of route was?
Yeah. Well, I was a creative and then a creative director for quite a few years in London. And then I kind of was always doing other stuff. I started at art school and I was doing stand-up comedy and writing sketch comedy in my spare time as well during advertising. And, you know, you're around commercial productions a lot when you're creative. And it was just sort of quite a natural progression for me, I think, because I was like, really wanting to sort of flex my visual muscle, I suppose, and I was very much into performance and humour and dialogue in personal pastimes. So it was a big moment, you know, sort of like bridging from one career to the next. Yeah. But yeah, really worthwhile.
Good, good. And tell us a bit about The Birth of Valerie Venus. Where did the idea come from for that, and how did it come about that you made that film?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, in essence, I mean, I know a lot of people have only seen the trailer, but it's a story of female empowerment, and it explores sensuality and sexuality of looking at the lens of an older woman. And I was really interested in the female experience, and I won't give too much away because it's spoilers, but as I was getting into the landscape of the film, I just, you know, I started a woman at a certain age, and I was like, as soon as a woman goes past menopause, she's sort of thrown metaphorically onto the scrap heap. And I wanted to, you know, really get in touch with that character and explore youth and give her a second birth, if you like.
Yeah, so. Yeah. That's brilliant. It's a great film, and so is that doing the festival circuit at the moment?
Yeah, it's early days. I mean, obviously, COVID's been a bit chaotic for everybody and everything, and that includes film festivals. So yes, it's starting to do the film festivals. We're starting to get the first few announcements of where it's playing, so that's very exciting. So whether those will be virtual or in person, I don't know yet. But yeah, it does tend to like, it takes a while, does the festival circuit, so you need to build momentum. So this is a great start. I mean, like, YDA, amazing, yeah.
And can you tell us a bit about the casting? So obviously Valerie, the character of Valerie, and her husband in it, brilliantly played, really great performances, especially by the character of Valerie. So how did you find those actors, and you know, what's the process for you like, and how important is it, and you know, how much time do you spend looking for those people?
Yeah, I mean, huge. Obviously, I'm a bit of a prep obsessive when it comes to production, and because I think it all pays off on screen, you know. And so I'd already sort of broken down thoughts and ideas about how I was going to go about the performance before I ever started casting. So I worked out, because you can tell from the trailer that there's actually 3 characters. So there's Jane Gurney, who plays Valerie, Paul Hunter, who plays her husband Norman, and then the next character is Valerie's right hand.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is particularly tricky for an actress to come in and play herself and her wants and needs, and then, you know, take on another part of her body and separate herself and think about how the hand's going to work as well. So I'd broken down sort of like, how did the hand need to move? Also, as we get older, our hands aren't as flexible and movable. So, you know, it was going to take a very special person. And I worked with casting director Irene Cotton in London, and yeah, I really was interested in people who'd studied theatre complicity, very much into body movement.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was also like a natural history between Jane and Paul. They'd worked together on other productions over the years, so they already had this great chemistry of like an old couple, you know, who's they were like two old shoes. So so it's sort of like all the elements added up, and really I've done so much prep. Was by the time Jane walked into the casting studio, I kind of knew she was Valerie. So and then it's a big process, you know, because then the wardrobe needs to come in and we start building the character with styling and and with the talent themselves. Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. I mean, I love his performance as well. It's just sort of that kind of slightly bumbling, slightly sort of, you know, overbearing, but and the fact that I'm not giving away spoilers, it's in the trailer, that he's a priest sort of kind of gives that little extra sort of nuance to it, of you expect him to be a sort of a different sort of person than he turns out to be.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because my last short film was shot in Mexico in Spanish. And then there was a lot of push for me to do something in English. So I went very English.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So, that's a good segue, because I'm assuming you're talking about The Good Mother, are you? Or
yes, I am. Yes.
So because that won at the YDA previously, right? So
yes, won a gold as well.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So, and that's equally a kind of comedy-based film about a kind of familial sort of scenario. You know, is that something you're particularly drawn to, those sorts of topics and kind of family dynamics and those sort of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think also it comes from advertising, you know, like truth, you know, and the insights in truth, you know, and real behaviors and real human feelings. And so starting with that as a seed and then pushing and exploring from there, I really, you know, I kind of like magic realism kind of naturally started to become part of my voice. It wasn't a sort of premeditated thing. It was just sort of part there. And because I think I've come from the art school background and the humour and visual humour, it sort of all marries together. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I'm very interested in family dynamics and human dynamics, and I think that's probably why I'd say I'm comedy drama, you know, as a filmmaker.
Yeah. And can you tell me a bit, so you also won, as we said earlier, in the Dreampitch category, which I think is the inaugural year this year of the Dreampitch category. So can you, if you're able to sort of briefly explain what that category is and why you were sort of drawn to enter it this year?
Yeah, well, it's early days, I think, for Dreampitch. So I was quite intrigued by it as a category, and I liked the idea of being able to pitch new work and concepts that I'm currently working on. I think always, you know, I have a lot of sort of self-initiated projects, and you constantly got to keep momentum going and push things forward. So a category like Dreampitch allows me to test an idea, see, you know, how it's feeling, and also to start to build an audience from the grassroots up. Yeah. This one is actually a Mexican magic realism tale, but it actually is about femicide and domestic violence in the Latin Americas.
Right.
And it's a very serious topic, but it has a real sort of like, I'd say, black comedy sense to it. So I'd sort of, it's a folkloric tale, if you like, about how to solve or one suggestion of solving femicide.
Right. So obviously the jury really resonated with the jury, and obviously it won a silver award there. And so will this film definitely be made? Will we be able to see this at some point, hopefully in the near future?
I hope so, yeah.
Good. It seems.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I'm currently pushing it into a TV series. So it's part of an anthology of stories.
Right.
So I'm working on that. So again, with the sort of the momentum, I mean, it works as a short film, as a standalone film. It's about 20 minutes. But 20 to 25. But yeah, I think it needs to feel like it lives in a bigger world, and I think it definitely can. It's an international story, even though it's Spanish language. So
it's interesting that plays directly into it. So Francois Chulot, who's the president of the YDA, has always been very passionate about how, directors that enter the YDA, are able to and work in a breadth of different platforms, so TV and short film and advertising and music videos and all those sort of things, which obviously you're saying now that your next project is looking like a TV sort of episodic thing rather than a short film or anything else. It's sort of, you're like the perfect YDA winner in his eyes, I would assume.
Yeah, well, I think also, the work I've been doing is quite sort of stylistic, and it also getting, finances together to shoot in that way. You sort of need to keep pushing on and progress forward. So I think, it's sort of the films I've made, and then the sort of the background of YDA behind them has really sort of just helped push me forward to the next stage.
Yeah.
So
that's good. So that sort of, again, segues into my next question of, what does winning at the YDA mean to you? Obviously, you're now a quadruple winner, maybe? I'm not sure, over the sort of different. Yeah. So, but is it still, obviously you'd won before, but you won again this year. So, what does it mean to win a YDA, and how does that sort of impact on you?
Yeah, well, the ironic thing is my friends keep saying, like, how amazing, you're a young director, you're over 40. So I think that's an achievement in itself. But yeah, this is, because I changed careers like later on. But yeah, I mean, it's really great. I mean, this is my last eligible year, so it's been amazing, for that. And it really sort of, now I'm a director, and I think also you're working, but also you're getting recognized for your work. And now, and I really feel like a director. I'm making work for myself, but I feel like I'm starting to become recognized as a fully fledged director. So, with work I have on, and I've been developing like my narrative side, and then also, I'm starting now to do pitch on more commercials and things to keep me on set and keep me fresh, because I'm writing, so it's sort of like a juggle between the two of never letting one take over from the other. Yeah.
Okay. And last question, Sarah, if that's okay, is like, how have you coped, and what's life directorially been like in the last sort of 5 months or so in lockdown, and what have you been working on, and what will we be able to see next from you?
Yeah, sure. So the best thing about locked at home is you've got to sit and write.
Right.
So there's been no excuses for the last 5 months, and I've been really productive, actually. So last year I was part of the BFI BBC Films Creative Skill Set and Creative England and Skill Set, which was the first feature film development scheme. So as part of that was a year-long development scheme. So I have a film called Two Old Maids, which is a period comedy drama set in North Yorkshire. It's about the working classes, and it's based around my ancestors. It's about two girls at like 27 and 29, considered, past their sell-by date because they're not married.
Right.
But they're like two working class survival experts, because they can look after themselves, and they're used to life on the farm. It's an anti-Jane Austen, if you like.
Right.
So it's a sort of another lens. It's sort of more truer lens, I think, of working class life in period. So I've been working on that, and I'm still onto the next stage of development.
Okay.
So I've been writing a lot about sort of life in 1800s. So farming methods, everything, like learning what do you do to go to the toilet, and how do you eat, and so
a lot of historical research.
So I'm busy on that, and I have a second script which is set in Mexico. It's about a fish out of water story of a woman like learning to find her purpose if she hasn't had kids. So And again, it's a serious topic, but it's comedy. So so I've been scribbling away.
Good.
And and then I'm starting to pitch on commercials, which is nice. The idea of just thinking in another dimension again, and thinking visually. So
well, you've used the time wisely. It sounds. Wish I could say the same. But thank you so much. Congratulations again on the trio wins. Hugely well deserved. I know that people can't see the full version of the Birth of Valerie Venus just yet, but the trailer will be somewhere on the page when people are watching this. And as soon as they're able to, I urge people to watch it in full, because it is brilliant. And thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me today.
Thank you. Thanks, Danny, and thank you, YDA, for everything.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye. See you later.